I commonly get questions about strange perceptual experiences that accompany this process of awakening and realization. They sometimes happen before awakening. They often happen as we approach awakening, and they're quite common in deep stage realization when non-dual realization starts to clarify, where the perceptual filters of separation and even the sense of being in three-dimensional space starts to collapse. So what are these perceptual experiences or distortions? Well, they can be a lot of different things. Often it feels like vertigo, or you feel unbalanced. I've had people who tell me going through awakening that they couldn't stand up without having to hold on to something for a day or two. This can happen with a big shift in identity and perception. But often they're more subtle or short-lived, like I look in the mirror and I see my face, but it looks distorted, not like it did before. Or I hold up my hand and I can't tell the difference between my hand and the wall behind my hand. They look like exactly the same thing. They're intermixed, or I can't tell distance. Sometimes it's as if the three-dimensional world, visually, becomes two-dimensional, like you're looking at a flat surface. You can still function, but things look different than they did before. Another common perceptual shift is the sense world becoming suddenly far more vivid. Sounds become louder and clearer and harder to ignore. Or the visual field feels like it's extremely close or even inside my body. Or sensations feel much larger and not necessarily completely enclosed in my body. In situations of prolonged meditation, such as retreats that last several days, this is far more common. It's a side effect of that sustained meditative state. However, this can happen anytime, anywhere. For some people, this is much more common than it is for others. Some people only need to listen to a talk for 15 minutes and they start experiencing perceptual shifts. Other people will rarely, if ever, experience these directly until the realization of non-duality. Either way is fine. In and of itself, having more or less of these perceptual shifts doesn't really say anything about you or your practice or realization. It doesn't mean that you're more enlightened if you have more perceptual shifts. It also doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. On the other hand, if you don't have a lot of these perceptual distortions or experiences, that doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong or that your practice isn't concentrated or directed enough. So there's no need to judge one's practice or realization based on the presence or absence of these types of experiences. Generally speaking, they are a good sign that you're in the right territory, that you're authentically investigating the nature of identity. But again, if you don't have these types of experiences, it doesn't mean that you're not either. So the takeaway is, don't make a big deal of these things. They're okay. If they become too intense or prolonged, just take a break, rest. Take walks in nature. Take a break from videos and reading and inquiry for a while. There's nothing you need to do to make them go away or to attenuate the experience. It will pass on its own, as do all experiences. Along these lines, many people are more prone to kundalini or energetic type experiences. These can be body movements, pain in the body, pressure, or just the intense release of energy into various parts of the body or moving throughout the body. These fall into a similar category in that if you don't make a problem of them, they're not a problem at all. It's perfectly okay. One thing I will caution you on is not to try to manipulate the energy or try to force it to do something to make you more comfortable. There are many types of energy practices out there that can help you, but I would recommend doing that along with a knowledgeable teacher. Short of that, it's okay when we have these releases of energy and movements of energy throughout the body. It's going to happen from time to time, and it's okay. Specifically, a lot of release of energy into the head is very common as we de-identify from thought more and more. This tends to happen a lot after an initial awakening, and it can go on for quite some time. You might feel pressure in the head, densities behind the eyes, or even headaches. One simple strategy for this is to lay on the ground or come in contact with the earth and just feel the subtle movement of energy as it comes into equilibrium between your body and the earth. Or just allow it to slide down the neck, the spine, through the legs, into the earth. This might start as a sort of visualization, but you'll start to feel the subtle energetics of it if you practice this way. Again, don't force it. Just invite it. Invite the energy transfer. Invite the stabilization of energy. And feel it move slowly from the head down into the body, into the legs, and into the earth. This can be helpful, although you may have to do it repeatedly. And as I said, the energy release into the head can take a few years to stabilize.